Welcome, everybody. This is TableBreakers. We did a little shift to the schedule, just a hair. Originally, we had planned to do my Let's Play, but I needed a little extra time. So we apologize for the last-minute change, but tonight we're going to be talking about critical hits and how to make them more entertaining. Joining us tonight, as always, we have Kai Marion, Shadow and Sun, Jade, and of course, last but not least, the Cigar DM, Connell. Bruce will be joining us here shortly, so we apologize that he isn't here with us right now, but we were just waiting on him to pop in. He was running a little bit late, so we went ahead and kicked it off, and he'll join us here shortly. So Shadow is going to be running the panel tonight, so Shadow, go right ahead.
How's it going, folks? When I saw this topic, I of course had to go back to my roots back in the mid-late 70s, a little later technically, remembering how it all got started. Back in 1974, as just about everybody knows, Dungeons and Dragons came out in its first edition, the original, digest-sized book. And a few short years later, David A. Hargrave came up with a trio of supplemental books, as well as eventually its own game by the end of the third volume of the Arduin Grimoire. And that's where the critical hits, and as we'll talk about later next week, the fumble chart first came into existence for role-playing games. And I've noticed since I've been, gaming since then, almost every game system I can think of either tried to come up with a system of their own, which was usually the same system of critical hits and fumbles, just sort of tacked onto their own game. And I was wondering, because I don't play every game out there, I own a lot of games, but I don't play every game out there. And I'm wondering if people understand some of the things that I've come to learn about the pros and cons of critical hits and their inclusion in games from the very beginning, or the common practice of tacking on a critical hit system, which almost always mirrors the original Arduin system. I wanted to ask you guys right off the bat, what critical hit system do you use? Can you describe what you use, or what game version do you use, if any, for critical hits? I get it that a lot of games really don't lend themselves to a critical hit system because of their own built-in mechanics, but maybe there is a game or a version of the critical rules that you like to use, and so that I have somewhere to go from, where I know where you guys are, standing. I want to ask each of you, what critical hit system do you use, if any, and can you kind of describe how it works? Let's start with you, Kai. Just go around the clockwise fashion.
Well, there's only two games that I really play that have a critical hit system built into it, because, technically three, if you count Exploding Dice, which many games have the just keep on rolling, and roll a 10, keep rolling.
Mm-hmm.
That's closest to a crit that you play with most of the games I play. And the other one is the classic: did you roll a number that was in your critical hit range, and if so, roll to confirm. Or if we go into older versions, oh, you roll a 20, congrats, yay. I mean, that's the basic thing that almost every game copies. It's either a variation of keep on rolling and keep rolling your dice until, not a 10 and add, or whatever, whichever successes, or 20, things happen. Hooray!
Right, which is what I should have said earlier. The original rule for the Arduin system was if you roll a 20, you roll percentage on a table, and it will tell you, more or less the hit location and the effect of the crit and the additional damage, sometimes even the fact that the target will die in X number of rounds, or it takes, a limb is chopped off and eyes poked out, stuff like that, which, sometimes can be, awesome for the players, but the converse is not so much a big fan favorite, if you know what I mean. You get crit, that could literally be it for your character. First combat, first unlucky roll, and you're out of the game already. So, Jade, how about you?
Yeah, so, coming from a 3.5 Pathfinder 1E background, the critical hit system was your typical, D20 and then add multiplier or roll damage, multiply damage by multiplier. It worked for the games that it was made for. However, with Index Card RPG, it's different. With Index Card RPG, when you roll that natural 20, you roll your base weapon damage and you increase whatever that damage is by the ultimate die, which is a D12. However, I have taken to coming up with homebrewed ideas that I'm wanting to try out at my own table that don't necessarily add to the damage, but add effects to the monster.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. So if I have a, let's see here, a barbed sword. So the sword is really of nasty design. It's got barbs sticking out of, it's kind of serrated here and there. And if you critically hit with a barbed weapon or this serrated weapon, you're going to do ripping damage. And that ripping damage, so you'll roll your normal damage as per normal. You'll add the D12 as normal. But for the additional effect of it, what it's doing is it's adding wounded. So it leaves gaping, ripping wounds through the enemy. And they take 2 additional damage every round on their turn. I might tone back the D12. It kind of like a bleeding effect, yeah. I might tone back or I might actually remove the ultimate damage die from the equation because I'm adding a status effect for a weapon that might be accursed. So I'm going to say a mace of cursing. You strike with the mace, and when it goes critical on, let's say, a 19 or 20, it puts a curse onto the foe instead, and gives them, makes everything they do hard, which in Index Card RPG is a -3 to all rolls.
That's interesting. How about you, Baron?
Well, see, my preferred type of critical system, there's 2. One, there's a beautiful deck of cards out there that Paizo put out, which is the critical hit. So as opposed to doing 2 times, you draw the card. Sometimes it can be a 3 or 4 times crit. Sometimes it can be, they lose an arm or something like that. My other one is the Warhammer Fantasy and the also the 40K, which in the book it gives you, depending on how much damage they've taken on that critical, of what things happen. It can be anything from they explode in a beautiful, pink mist to more gruesome things and descriptions. So, typically the cards that, like what Jade showed, those can be used pretty universally, no matter what gaming system that you are playing. It's got all different kinds, whether magic, melee, unarmed, whatever it is. They can add a lot of flavor to the game, especially if you. Another way that I like to do it is if they hit a critical, I'll have them explain. I'll give them, I'll draw the card, read what a card, and I said, explain how this happened. And then they'll go through and explain, well, I do a jumping kick and then come down with the sword and, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, there are a lot of different ways in order to pull in your players in order to give them a feeling that not only did the dice said they did well, but for them to explain how they did it well.
I do like the idea of the deck for because as I saw just now that it gives apparently from spells or different kinds of weapons and things like that. Uh, I like that idea because a critical hit from a blowgun dart is way different than a critical hit from a two-handed sword.
Getting it open in a browser real quick. Sorry, taking a moment to get it ready. Oh, I think Garrett. Yep, there it is. Yeah, so that's some of the different effects that can be done based on the weapon type or the damage type. Some of them to brutal effect.
I like the one where you lose fingers. Or the other guy loses fingers.
So, Garrett, I think you are muted, sir.
Of course,
There
I'm
you go.
muted. That's how this works. But no, and if you look at the magic one, it says magic here. This one is pretty brutal for any spellcaster.
Oh, yeah.
The cutoff for magic: normal damage and target cannot cast a spell or use spell-like abilities for 1d4 rounds. It is definitely stuff that is that
kill a party.
Yeah, well, it can, or it could kill
The bad guy?
the bad guy too. It works both ways.
That happens to a cleric?
Yeah. The piercing shoulder wound, they lose some strength and their deck. So if they're sitting right there on the bubble, they lose one. That could take their 2-hit or whatever down, and their damage down a little bit too. It's that whole thing is that it actually gives benefits / consequences for battling. So, which really is one thing that is great because as Bruce said, it works both ways. And and I know Bruce does use these in his game. So yeah, definitely here. So we'll go ahead and move it right along. Go ahead, Shadow.
Connell, same question.
Well, the problem is I started with 3.5. I moved to Pathfinder. I'm not 5th edition. And crits.
We forgive you.
I make no bones about 5th edition. Here's the thing. It keeps my lights on. Do you? So it pays my bills so I don't bitch too much. With that being said, 5th edition kind of took it more, I've been told, old school way at crits. All you got to do is roll nat 20. You don't have to confirm it. It's auto-confirm. I'm not a fan of this. I personally am not a fan of this because just because you roll nat 20, congratulations. No matter what, you hit. But how bad of a hit is this? Is this a flesh wound? It's only a flesh wound, you wussy. Or is it, dead on the floor? So I will use cards that's been brought up. I have a buddy who uses card game, like poker cards for it. And the multiplier is from 2 to 9, 2 to 10. Then the Jack, Queen, King he has on the list that do different things. So you nail somebody, and his is high stakes games. The combats could kill you it depends on how it happens. So hypothetically, you roll nat 20, you confirm it, which is how it should be done. None of this auto confirm bullshit. You have to roll to make sure you hit the target. And you pull and you do a 1d10 points of damage. All right, cool. 1d10. I pull a card. It's a 10. So 10 times whatever you roll plus damage. Because sometimes, I don't care who you are, sometimes if you tag that person in just the right place with the right weapon, he's going to fall over. None of this Hollywood 6-shooter bullshit where you got to shoot him like 5 more times before the bastard should fall down. It is done and over if you pull the right card. And I've seen it happen with a dragon. A guy rolls a d12 and pulls the 10 card. So that's it's what, 1,200 damage to the HP. Done and done. Because
That's ludicrous.
Why?
Because that would be like he went into flash mode and literally chopped the dragon up into nice 1-inch cubes to account for that sort of
Mr. Who thinks Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit is great. Everybody should have the privilege of ring. What did Barr do with his arrow? He killed a dragon with a single arrow.
But he didn't necessarily do 1,200 points of damage.
We don't know because Smaug doesn't have an HP bar.
It can be explained as it went through his heart. The heart has exploded. The heart didn't need to have 1,200 points of damage. I think it's just sort of a measuring contest of a certain body part to see how many numbers you can do in actual damage. Kai's been waiting patiently. What you got, bud?
Well, first off, I didn't know we were going to go into super duper detail into all the variations, so I would have given a much better answer. But anyway,
you guys took most of my answers.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. When it comes to kill, you can always look at the black arrows, being the prototype and ancestor for what would become the Bane, the Bane weapons.
Arrow slaying.
The arrow slaying or Bane weaponry, the idea of it's like, I'm an awesome dragon. You got hit with the slaying arrow. Guess what? What? You failed to check. Ah, fuck. Oopsie doodle. Dead. You don't need to have a complex crit system. You just need to simply go, it's the cool item that says kill you written all over it.
That's was the 1 in 4,000 or 1 in 8,000, like triple nat 20ing. Like, do you remember that rule, Connell? Because I know that was a thing at several tables that if you nat 20 3 times in a row, it's just insta kill. It's insta gib, just done. And that's basically what that is.
Somebody who's not here, but part of this. And if you don't believe us, it's part of his YouTube video.
Yeah, I did one in his game a while back. I rolled 3 crits in a row. As I've seen it happen in Bruce's game a couple of times.
I mean, at the end of the day, the creature falls over when we want the creature to fall over. That's just the power of the DM. If you want to give it 5, 10, how many HP points you want to, that's awesome. But you find a way to make it where everybody at the table is doing and e's and oohs because you did 1,200 points to that dragon with whatever, and you give an epic death. That's pretty cool too in its own right.
Yeah, I just think those numbers are kind of ludicrous when compared to certain physical structures other than just creatures that would 1,200 points of damage is the equivalent of laying low some small castles with a sword in a single hit.
Well, as have been pointed out to me multiple times, our Shadow, stop using logic to kill my cat girls.
I got nothing.
Oh, that's been a while. Thank you for bringing back up old memes.
Yep, old memes.
So I got another question of my own because it's helping me roll with this. Because Baron did write up a bunch of questions and I want to get to them ASAP. 2 natural 20s means you have to roll a forward save versus damage rolled. Failure means death. I'm assuming this is Pathfinder.
3.5.
Okay.
Well, so that was a massive damage rule in 3.5 that if you scored over 50 hit points worth of damage until like level 20, if you scored 50 hit points of damage, they had to con save versus death in a single hit. Almost impossible at low levels.
The original D&D games had if something took more than its full, like more than its maximum hit points in a single attack, they had to make the equivalent kind of a roll to see if they just died outright. Because if you take literally half your hit points, that could literally be like disintegrating some part of your body that leaves a major artery just pumping and gushing out blood that would just instantly kill you. Now, Bruce had brought up a comment earlier. I don't know if you guys can bring it up about how the players are going to be on the receiving end of criticals more than anything else. Can you bring that up, Baron?
Hold on, I'm got to go back.
I don't know how far it is back.
Bruce, and get in here.
It works both ways. Try telling that to your players who will take the majority of critical hits in your DM career. Exactly. From everything I've learned about critical hits, it seems that for most games, it's a sure way to literally kill every character that ever walks into your game at first level before they ever make it to second level. Mind you, some of the harder crit rules, like you guys described, were having to back up the crit with another crit. That definitely makes the odds better in favor of everybody. The Connell version, that is literally the original Arduin version. You roll a 20, it's a crit. That we'll find out what happens from there, which I don't like, because sometimes some people technically can't actually hit with a crit. Just because you rolled a 20, that's suddenly like a magical, thing that even though you might have needed a 27 to hit, because you rolled a 20, you hit. Go ahead, Kai.
Okay, since we are going now into variations and because I didn't know we were going to go into variations on how to improve crit rules. I thought we were just going over the basic bitch rules that we were going to use. So I guess what I'm going to expand upon here is perhaps you should look at the 3.x epic level handbook, where they actually give you the idea that critting is not an automatic hit, 20 is not an automatic crit. It is instead you get a plus 10 to your roll past 20, and if you roll a 1, it's a minus 10 rather than an automatic failure. So that way your gobble motherfuckers out there who are like, I rolled a 20, and therefore God gets mobbed by 400 peasants, and they roll enough 20s. No, you add just a plus 10 to their modifier, and does it hit the actual new epic levels of AC? No. Well, then guess what? You didn't hit. Or hey, I'm level 20. This peasant's level 2. I swing. I rolled a 1. I still hit him. Why? Because his AC is literally 12. I need to roll a negative 14 to hit. And anything better than negative 14, I hit. Well, you roll a 1. Still a plus 4. I still hit the motherfucker. And you win. But because of the fact that but that was the wonderful fun of epic, of our epic level handbooking, but everyone forgets that book exists.
I don't own a single Pathfinder or
this is 3.x. This is 3.x
or anything past second edition when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons.
But most people who play 3.x, aka 3.5 Pathfinder 1, is literally all 3.x. So it was literally an optional rule that you could roll with. So therefore, if you don't, and the thing is, I've been using that one for a very, very long time because of the fact that nobody likes auto hits, nobody likes auto fails. So therefore, by removing the auto hit, so it's a 20 plus 10. Congratulations. It's not did you hit? Yes or no? Because most people are going to hit. If you give somebody a free plus 10 to your check, guess what? You're probably going to hit everybody under the sun. But if you get a demigod out there who walks in and goes, "Ha, my name is Gilgamesh. I am completely cocky as fuck." I rolled a hesitant. Did I allow you to hit me? No. But I rolled a 20. Still better than you. Yeah. And that's just a simple variation, and I really liked that rule that was put out. Nobody seems to follow it. Nobody seems to know it, but at least at my tables, it's worked wonders because it took away the ability to hire 400. I go buy 500 attack ferrets and I take down God because of action economy, and I roll more 20s than you. Yeah.
Okay. That I like it, but it doesn't. It isn't the system I'm seeing in most of my experiences lately. It's something a little bit different. Jay's been waiting patiently. What you got? And welcome to the show, Bruce.
I'm sorry for being late, but we had delays. I'm sorry, sirs.
No,
That's
sorry
all right.
for that. I love you guys. I'm sorry that I'm late.
The reason why you're not familiar with that, Shadow, is because it came from the Epic Level Handbook, which was actually a 3.0 book published around the same time as 3.5 was really getting going. And while I have read that rule, we didn't. The play group I had in the St. Louis region didn't have that book available to them, so we didn't know that rule existed until it was far too late to turn back from a scenario. And that scenario was we had a bard in our party who had taken the leadership feat, and their charisma was such that they had something like 200 followers. And what the player did is like, well, we're on a dragon hunt, so I'm gonna go buy 200, standard longswords. I'm gonna hand them to my followers, my groupies, and I'm gonna tell them to go attack that dragon. So 200 attack rolls later, some of them, a lot of them were crits. Yeah, sure, a lot of groupies died, but the attacks still went through until, as Kai pointed out in the Epic Level Handbook, that just because you roll a nat 20 doesn't mean it's auto hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that exact scenario, Kai, because I also went through that.
There are many games out there where a 1 and a 20 are just automatic success and failures out there. I mean, a lot of them.
This is why I'm getting rid of the D20 for my upcoming game.
Well, even in percentile games, Bruce, I've seen the 05, 90, 95 to 100, the same thing. Kai?
I'm about to say the exact same thing. Like, no matter what, D20 or percentile, you're still looking at 5% increments, and you might as well just do some good old-fashioned fractional reduction here, and you can and you're back down to it's D20 or D100. It's I'm totally in agreement. Games like Palladium, they have a rule that your skill might be 172%, but if you roll, I think it's a 97 or above, you still fail. And I'm like, do you not understand how math? I know that's not how math works. If you're going to do that, then you should just say, well, you can never get pluses above X because I'm just going to take them away from you. Why even bother, right? See, that's kind of going back to like second edition D&D when AD&D where we had the exact same situation and we would where you could literally have one of those. Okay, so you get a minus 50%, a minus 50% due to the fact that it's broad daylight. There's no shadows. Okay, I'm still at a 122. So, and if people looking at you says another minus 35, fantastic. Okay, I only have an 85% chance of stealthing, and we're like, oh my god, it's broad daylight at noon, and he found a blade of grass. He is stealth. Mm-hmm. Mother.
Yep. That's why I actually, when it comes to percentile games, I have a simple system of negative modifiers. If it's like difficult or whatever, it might be actually 50%. But if I deem the task impossible, you get a minus 100. If you can still make it, I'll let you roll. But you're getting a minus 100 because I think it's impossible. That's how math works, right, guys?
Go ahead.
Nothing should be
that was it.
I was just going to say, like, for my system, I'm not going to make 100 or 95 plus on a D100 to be an automatic, hey, you might have got a critical. No, I'm not. However, if you roll max damage on your die, we have trauma damage. And so if you roll
Thank
an
you.
8 on the D8, you roll another D8 and you -1 for that result. And if you roll max damage on that die, you roll that again and you keep adding until you stop rolling max damage. So the critical hits are not really going to be a thing with the new system, but you are going to have like some hits are going to hurt worse than others, just kind of out of the ordinary. And I think that will work out a lot better, even though a lot of people are like, oh my God, a magic missile will fucking kill you. Probably will. I don't give a shit. This new system, your base hit points are your constitution starting off. Your constitution equal that. Okay, throw that in your hit point box. Then you roll your D10 if you're a fighter. You roll that plus your con bonus for your first level hit points. So you're going to have between like maybe 13 if you roll 1 and you have shitty constitution, and like maybe 25, 26 hit points. So you should be able to take a hit or two. I want people to be able to.
That's interesting you brought that up, Bruce. I've always thought that a critical should be more reliant on the damage that you roll. Like if you rolled, like you said, the D8 and you roll an 8, to me that would indicate that you did something like a critical, as opposed to just the fact, okay, I've connected with my die roll. Why does that make it a crit versus the damage that I rolled making it a critical? Does anybody follow?
Yeah.
Now the thing is that if you roll a D100 and you show up to the roll with like, hey, I rolled a 000, okay, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. You rolled a 000. If you roll 000, throw an extra damage value die out there. So if you're just rolling if you're just an expert, I don't know, lowly expert, and you're rolling 2d8 plus, say you have a +5 strength modifier. So instead of like, okay, well, what's that mean? Damage modifier. Damage value. Okay, roll me an extra 2d8. Add your 5 in there. So you're rolling 4d8 plus 5 for your hit. If you're hitting with that, that's great. And by the way, if you roll a ot1 botch, I haven't figured out a rule for that yet. Because the majority of times in the games we play, there are more people that suffer critical hits, and the players suffer critical fumbles far more than the NPCs ever will. And so I don't want to really have a game where, hey guys, you're kind of trained at swordsmanship, you're kind of young kids on a car vanguard job, but like the first combat, 2 of the guys rolled natural 1s, and so one decapitated himself because he only had 13 hit points to start as his first level fighter, and the other one, he hurt his hand, and then the goblins pretty much carried him off, and the party could hear him getting butt fucked all night. And I thought, no, I don't want to have critical fumbles happen with such severity in the game like what it had with 3X and Pathfinder. I really don't. I want the game to be mostly fun. Yeah, you rolled that one. All right, well, the DM should be able to throw a ruling out there. Imagine that. Throw a ruling out there, guys, of what happens. Make it to where it's at least a minor pain, like you throw your sword 6 feet away from you. Next round, you got to go over there, bend over, grab your sword. And that'll take you 4 segments or 5 segments, 5 seconds. And they're like, well, fuck. Well, I'm giving you that. It could be you self-inflict yourself with your, you put your scythe through your testicle sack. No, just make a ruling.
Or like that guy who got hit.
Negative. What?
Or like that guy who got hit by a car the other day while trying to shoot somebody and ended up shooting himself in the head.
And the thing is,
that's on camera.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I need you to send me the link for that because I think I saw that. I liked it. Now the critical hit system, Flatey might be knowing what I'm talking about, but if you guys remember in my game, whatever you roll on your die, whenever you reverse the numbers, that is your location. And I just threw a 10 out there for intents and purposes, so that would be a miss in most cases. But if that is a hit, if that's a legitimate hit, then that location that was just rolled is a 0-1. A 0-1's a headshot. and therefore every die roll on the D100 can be given to a location. And I borrowed that. I know that, right, guys? Borrowing. Imagine that, borrowing from games. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay has the best hit and critical hit system because every throw of the die gives you a location for every hit. And that's one of the joys of the first and second ed, Hogshead Publishing, and GW FRP. And that's something I want to bring back. And I think that is something that could be brought back to any table if you have the conventions available immediately to use it. It's just an elegant system, but I think the damage dice being able to explode instead of doing critical hits, I think that's a better way to do damage. And I know this sounds kind of punishing, but wait, Bruce, you said for damage. Yes. So if your cleric, say Ronaldo, the cleric comes out there and he throws his cure moderate wounds out and he manages to roll an 8 and a 3 on that. Well, grab yourself another D8 or just memorize you rolled an 8 before. And trauma dice, oh shit, another 8. So that's 15 points. All right. 16 points plus 3, another 19 points of healing. So therefore, a simple second level spell might be able to cure somebody up all the way from a nasty wound in their thigh and make it to where they can at least travel tomorrow. The exploding die mechanic, I think, works a lot better than critical hit systems because I've been playing with critical hit systems for over 30 years. And for me, they work if you're doing cinematic play, but really what they do is let's find a new way to hurt your players at the table.
That's the perfect segue into my next question. And I would love to let you go first, Bruce, but I'm going to actually start with Connell. Okay, guys, how do you mitigate the harshness of the probability rolls that rules like these for crits, that is, work more in the favor of large monster groups than in favor of the PCs? And if your system doesn't, involve that, I didn't account for that when I wrote the question. So I'm going to start with you, Connell.
So the question is, does the crit
basically,
favor...
what do you do? Okay, you've got your party of, let's say, 6 players, but you decide to ambush them with 20 goblins. Well, those 20 goblins get to attack once a round, let's say, versus the player's 8. It's first level game. And you start just like you drop your 20 dice on the table, and there's 6 crits right there.
Well, first let's correct the math, and this is not a jab at you. Let's correct the math for at least for 5th edition. 20 goblins against 6 players would kill them hands down. There's no questions asked. The goblins would just rock the players. There's just no way around that because of the mechanics of the game. So
I was actually in a game with a different game recently where we fought 30 kobolds and we were like 5th level, and yeah, they almost tore us a new one.
Okay, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to fix the math.
Well, the 20 whatever.
Right.
20
No, well, let's go.
Right.
Let's go with that. You got a higher number of bad guys versus good guys. What you roll is what they roll. If I have 5 goblos, 15 Orakai or whatever, they roll. If they roll nat 20s, they roll nat 20s, and if they confirm, they confirm. If the players roll nat 20s and they confirm, they confirm. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. There is no, and this is when I'm playing at a table with grown-ups. There's no hand holding. There is the dice god rolled, and here is how it breaks down. But just because I'm rolling 20 d20s doesn't mean more than 4 of them are going to be a crit. Yes, the numbers are.
You could roll 0. You could roll 0, or obviously you could roll 0 or even 20. It's not going to happen, but
I could
even if it's one every combat, you might not make it through the night with any players left alive.
I trust the players know how to make their characters, especially if I'm gaming for a bunch of grown-ups, that if their character dies, I don't have dice being flown across the room or any kind of grown-ups being grown-ups. And just because you're having a hot night doesn't mean I can't channel my inner Jade and roll shit the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm using the internet for like Roll20 or whatever, where it's the internet saying random rolls and 7 people roll the same roll back to back. Yeah, random my ass. So the dice don't lie, and wherever the dice do roll, it is what it is. I don't pull punches and I don't play favorites.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Just something
Kids,
I was curious about.
Kids, I kind of, with kids, like new players, like kids, I don't necessarily always play by those rules, but when I'm playing at an adult table, I do. Because I want those kids to keep coming back. Because if those kids keep coming back, they get a new addiction to a hobby that will keep them off the street doing drugs. They won't have the money.
Dr. Feelgood's at the table behind the DM screen. Come get your fix.
Don't make it awkward. It's not like, never mind. Boy, am I shutting up. Next person, please.
That would be Baron. That would be Baron. We're going to go in reverse order.
What was the question one more time? I'm sorry.
No worries. How do you mitigate basically the odds that monsters are going to be rolling way more crits than the players? And with certain crit rules, that could literally mean that no one's ever going to survive to make it to second level if you do a lot of combat.
Well, when I'm a DM, for whatever reason, I tend to roll like crap.
Okay.
Whereas
so you're leaving it up
I'm
to
the reverse. I'm usually the reverse of what everyone else is. Everyone's like, "Oh man, I'm the DM. My dice are hot all night long. I'm just cutting through the players and swabs. I'm lucky if I can roll above a 4. Come on, just roll above a 4. Damn it." But no,
I've seen that too.
And if for some reason my dice are hot, I play the dice as they are. I tend to roll out in the open because that's what I prefer. If the mathematics comes out and the random generator of the dice say, "I'm sorry, I can't do that, Dave," then, well, can't hit. Or, "Oh, look, Hal doesn't like you today. I'm sorry." Opens the airlock. It's kind of one of those things with the way that I do it. It's I tend to roll everything out in the open because I want them to, all the players have to roll out in the open. It's that whole trust thing. So I mean, if they get piled on, and let's say 4 out of the 5 hit crits, 4 out of the 5 hit crits. It's just it's the I'm gonna take a old adage from a movie. May the odds be ever in your favor. So that's where that rolls down to. So,
all right. How about you, Jade?
So, if my players are facing, let's say, I don't know, 20 Skirids. For those of you who know what a Skirid is, you can go ahead and shudder now. And, sure, if I roll a bunch of nat 20s, well, as Baron said, they're out in the open. Now, I didn't used to roll my dice in the open. I used to be one of those game masters who had all my notes and all my stuff behind a game master screen. Because, what I was doing was supposed to be separate from what the players are doing. I realized, mostly after the switch to Index Card RPG, but I'd started realizing before that rolling out in the open was fair for everyone. And I wanted my players to be able to, not, roll and then suddenly pick up the die and be like, "Oh, well, that was a 17," or, "Oh, that was an 18." No, once the die rolls, until the dice stops, you are not to touch it. And even after it stops, you leave it there until you declare what the final numbers. And I am like, if I'm going to hold my players to that standard, I'm going to hold myself to that standard. So if my players are set upon by 20 whatevers and they're level, whatever, and I get like 6-7 crits, well, that them's the breaks. Like, the life sometimes isn't fair. So this on the same flip side though, if my players are rolling hot all night, like I've had some nights where my players rolled between all like 5 players, my players rolled, I think 5 to 10, I want to say, I should probably 5 to 8 critical hits, all nat 20s in a single hour of combat. Because the combats we were at like level 20 something, and the combats were lasting pretty long. But yeah, I had like 5 to 8 different nat 20s hit the table during that time, and them's the breaks. Like if my players are rolling hot, the enemies go down faster. If my players aren't rolling hot but my enemies are, well, that I'm going to be probably handing out brand new shiny character sheets that all have no no information at all written on them.
Sounds very reasonable.
Okay. And Bruce.
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question because I have some thoughts about some of the other comments, but I want to answer your question first.
Okay. How do you mitigate the harshness of the probabilities that the rules will work more in favor of large groups of monsters than in favor of the PCs?
I tell people before they sit down, more than likely, critical hits are going to happen to you more than your foes. Even if you have like a 39 armor class in my game, and you've got in my Pathfinder game that I'm running, if you've got a 39 AC, and most of my bad guys only have a plus 15 to hit, there's going to be that one jackass that rolls in that 20, and if I've been rolling really poorly that night, just expect karma to know what your address is, and it's probably going to happen to you. You're going to suffer a critical hit. The impossible shot, the one shot that killed Goliath from David Slingstone, that could happen to you very easily. And just kind of explain that to them and give them that information. That I say that at cons too. I tell that to people whenever I'd run a game at a game store. Yeah, that's great. I've got critical hit deck here. So, and you're using a rapier or a kukri. Oh, that's awesome. So the rules for the game system we're running. That's great. But it's been my experience that while you might have the odds in your favor, the players are typically more or less going to suffer much more damage than the NPCs ever will. And the main reason is that the NPC is there to be a hindrance or an object or like a speed bump, and you're supposed to plow through and suffer whatever incidental damage it is and continue forth. And if you can handle that, that's great. Sit down, let's play. But I don't like people that sit at my table that are like, I have a 43 AC. How is he hitting me? Well, typically rolling in the open fixes that. You can't really contest a die that pops up a natural 20 if it's sitting between 8 people at a table. All of us see it. All of us see it. And it looks really suspicious whenever somebody grabs their dice off their keyboard. It was a natural 20. Sure, Capron. That happens a lot at, other tables, which we don't want to be at. But, most of the people I know, they want to roll in the open because they want to match your energy. They want to match your ability to be like, I'm being honest. Here's what got rolled. If you want to see my note card for what his THACO and for what his base attack bonus is, if you want to see his saves, here it is. Because I copied that out of the book, or I made this out of the character creator, but these are all piezo appropriate. And most players, when they see that, they're like, okay, cool, that's fine, that's fine. Nobody really gets, I can't believe he hit me. Well, I rolled 2 natural 20s in the middle of the fucking table. What more do you need? And that happens quite a bit. I mean, I've seen Connell do it. I've seen myself do it. It just happens. And
it's
so
not,
just learn to accept it.
it's not that I it's the believing of or not believing. How did he hit my character? I'm like, yeah, he hit my character. This is what I tell myself every time. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna suck. Not how did he hit me? Is like, okay, how bad? What? How many teeth am I gonna be missing?
And that's a realistic outlook for whenever you get into a fight. You expect to be hurt at the end of it, right?
Yeah,
I don't know anybody that goes into a boxing match that's like, I'm not going to get touched. I'm untouchable. No, dude. You're getting ready to do pugilism work. You expect to put yourself through a little bit of punishment there, and you expect to not be as fresh feeling when you step out as when you stepped in. And that's the difference, I mean, between us sitting at a table, because in our regular life we're drivers or accountants or we're stay-at-home dads. Most of us don't have professional adventurer on our resume. We're like, yeah, well, we chased after this guy with the receiver paperwork, and we were trying to hand it to him so they could process him, and he knew he had to show up at court like 3 days later, and instead, like,
Have
we end
you
up
been
sliding down the
channeling?
side of a mountain. We end up sliding down the side of a mountain and, like, scraping ourselves on 700 feet of jagged rock. And I left about 3 pints of blood up on the hillside. Most players don't have the mindset where that can happen. Now, occasionally you'll get some guys that have done stuff or seen things, but more than likely, most of us have led very boring lives. And we get our excitement from books, movies, or games like this.
I swear you were channeling one of my previous adventures.
I had thought about doing that as a career. Go hunt people down to give them a. By the way, the good judge wants to see you on Monday.
Think again. Think again.
You don't want, as much as that might be lucrative, there's going to be one guy.
It's not.
It's not. Down here they only pay you $89 per server that you process through. So I mean, as much as it might be something that could save you from like a nagging electricity bill, it's better off just to let somebody else in the system that wants to endure hit point loss and bruising and possible stitches. Let them do that.
It was $25 back in the day, Bruce. $25.
And people get upset. Like they will crack their door open and they will poke the barrel of their gun or pistol out, and like thinking you're going to be brave. Like, I'm going to stop all the bullets for $79. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay, Kai, same question. Do you need me to repeat it as well?
Kai, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yes, please. Can you please use that in the form of a sentence?
It will be in the form of a sentence, such as it is. Okay, Kai, how do you mitigate the harshness of the probability that the rules will work more in favor of large monster groups than in favor of the PCs?
I actually adopted something that my kids introduced. I let them run for a bit, and then I went, wait a minute, because they saw the exact same problem we're all seeing about, hey, y'all gonna die here? And then they went, no. So their rule, which actually turned out to be pretty fun, was simply crits just inflict a 1 round status effect. No bonus damage, no weird ass effects, nothing strange. Just simply, you may describe how the crit happens and then give a status like dazed, confused, hobbled, just an effect on a crit. And suddenly it turned from playing rocket tag, massive damage, monster is everyone dies horribly, to, okay, cool, you blinded some guy for a round with that magic missile bolt. Or, you gave him a dislocated shoulder for a round, and they go, mother bitch, that hurt. And, it's one of those, and honestly, it suddenly turned combat when I'm like, okay, kids, that's actually a pretty good rule. And we've been running that one for about a year now. And, yeah, And all I introduced to him was here's my Warhammer Fantasy Battles critical location die to go tell you where you beat them senseless at, so that way you can help tailor the crit to where. And it's just turned much more cinematic. I don't want to say cinematic, but much more narrative focused rather than just simply, well, I'm a crit focused, specialized. This is my cool ×5 multiplier Doom weapon, and like, no, this is actually a really fun, easy system, and 20s are just cool. There's no weird cards. There's no massive multi-damage multipliers. There's no exploding dice. It's just simply, you banged his shin really hard and he can't chase you this round, or you tripped him, and it's not really a full trip, but you made him stumble about, or you pushed him about, and it made everybody go, wait, what can I do with it? And it became much more entertaining. It was a nice change of pace where when the option was murder faster or make the combat more fun, they chose more fun. And I was shocked, and I ran with that. And I've been enjoying that one far more than I'm enjoying a lot of other things. So, yeah.
I think all of us can appreciate at least some aspect of what you just described. Speaking of description, I'm going to go into the first, Bruce, and continue clockwise fashion. Jade, Baron, Connell, and Kai. And this one actually came from Bruce. Bruce. Baron. He wrote this question for the topic earlier. What are some ways to make critical hits feel more impactful and exciting in tabletop RPGs? And how can the game master and players use these moments to heighten tension and create memorable experiences for the players?
Well, I mean, whenever you tell somebody, like, okay, you just saw the dice I rolled, right? Okay, the tally for that is 47 points of damage. Also, because you took hypochondriac as one of your character's weaknesses, one of your hindrances, you are bleeding out 1 hit point every 5 seconds, no matter what. We have a ticking clock above your head right now. You're going to die in about a minute because you had only like 10 hit points left. And being that you're a bleeder, you might want to be calling on your medic whenever you can. Things like that. I know that's kind of specific, but you want to tell people, like, you see your henchman get hit by the giant's boulder. It not only hits your henchman, but also flattens your party's cart. All of your stuff now on the ground.
Not the cart.
Not the cart, right?
Not the cart.
And then you tell people, like, one of the other giants has clubbed your big beefy fighter, Carla the Insane. And now she's laying with her helmet rolling down the side of the mountain with a large dent in it. Her face looks like she just got nailed by a 95 mile per hour fastball sent back out into right field, and the outfielder took it in the skull. That's what her face looks like. She doesn't have long. Just something simple like that. You could summarize it with, they don't have long. 4 words. That's all you have to say. And that should put a fire under your party to where they can get over there, bandage them up. Healer, medic, priest, whatever, paladin, lay on hands, I don't give a shit. Somebody get over here and fix our coworker or our companion. Somebody get over here and make sure that they do not fall apart. And it sounds like, that's like something that could happen in any battle, and it should. That could almost happen in any battle. You, the dungeon master, have the ability to arbitrate as to whether that does or not. And I would recommend that you use that more often than not, because a lot of times you'll have the party get besieged by bandits, and sometimes within 3 rounds or within 20 seconds, the party is able to get their crossbows leveled at the bad guys and put 2 of them in the dead book. And those 5 bandits are now down to 3. So they will instead do something like they'll shoot the horse, or they'll shoot like your large fleshy magician that's sitting on top of his light pony. And your magician now has an arrow that went through his chest and took out like 17 points of damage. The magician is probably, going to be more important than chasing down those 3 outriders and putting them to the sword. You can do that later. You can use that as justification for later. But now you have to, fix your friend as the bad guys ride off. And they're really happy with what they did because they're still alive. Their 2 companions are dead. But you've got something more important. Your spellcaster, your friend you've known since age 8, you need to fix him up. What are you doing? And then start going around the table, asking them that, and just break initiative. Don't even let initiative be a thing. Just let the players figure out what they're doing and notate in your head how long it's taking them to get a solution to the medical emergency. And if they can get it done within a timely fashion, they might be able to save your friend's life. If not, they're going to make it to where all they can do is apply enough pressure to where he probably will go unconscious for maybe a day or 2, and still is going to require intensive care and somebody campsite, trying to feed him soup and trying to make sure, he's comfortable, trying to bandage him up, trying to change the bandages, not let the native wildlife get a hold of him and tear him apart. Well, we see there's like 40 coyotes out here. Maybe if we feed them Magus' body and they'll just go away. Throw it out there 70 feet and see what happens. Don't do that. Don't let your party do that. Let your party get used to their characters. Make it to where their characters need each other and they need to be more engaged with one another and understand that that's all you've got. That's the only people that have got your back. These other crazy people that are on this trip with you. And if you let them die from massive damage or trauma, you've really done them a disservice.
I like that teamwork.
I guess.
How about you, Jade?
Okay, so ways that I make critical hits more impactful or exciting. I touched on it a little bit earlier. Having moved away from Pathfinder 1E and D&D 3.5, like, yes, I have the critical hit deck. I also have the critical fumble deck, but that's next week's topic. So that was the first foray into making critical hits more interesting, was the critical hit deck. Having all of these different unique abilities based on, or unique, outcomes based on what kind of weapon was being used. I took it a step further when I made the plunge to Index Card RPG. Because I explained the system earlier, but the concept of when you get a critical hit, when you score that nat 20 or whatever the case might be, I don't think more damage is necessary. Yeah, sure. More damage is probably the player's preference, so they end the combat faster. I would say that instead of maybe, and this is me being a theoretical game master, an armchair GM right now, but maybe instead of doing additional damage, have a minimum damage. Like, it can't be below like X number. Like, whatever you roll, if you get like a 4 on the damage, it can't get less than 5 because you're rolling a D10, whatever the case might be. But I mostly prefer to add different status effects instead of additional damage. So like, somebody critically hits a monster and they aim for the legs to take the legs out from them, leg them and leave them. So I'm like, okay, so you're trying to actively slow them down. Well, okay, you critically hit, they are now slowed. They can only take a single move action up to close distance. They can't move far. They can't move, near, except for like taking their entire turn to move that distance. So you've slowed them down. Or hey, I've got this javelin. I'm gonna launch it at the enemy's chest. From across the map, and rolls that nat 20. It went from being, oh well, your odds are really slim to, oh well, you got the nat 20. Let's see what happens. So you launch it across the map, and it lands home. It lands directly into their chest. Awesome. Now they're a fountain of red water. Let's say. They're just spewing, blood everywhere. So they themselves are going to be exhausted or beleaguered. They can't actively move well because they are just, they've got a presumably a 5-foot shaft sticking out of their chest. That would probably be pretty hard to move around with. So they're going to be taking negatives to all their, abilities, all their checks, all their, even magic. And they're also spraying blood everywhere. So the area in their immediate vicinity is going to be difficult terrain. Moving through there, you run the risk of slipping and busting your ass. And if they're surrounded by their guards, well, now their guards are taking penalties too, because that one player just launched a javelin, took a chance, and landed home directly into the heart of the enemy that they were facing. So I prefer status effects that affect the environment as well as the being that has been targeted by the critical hit, far more than I want damage. Like I don't, running index card RPG, the bloat is not there. Because everything is limited to heart values, and all the players are limited 10 hit points at the beginning. They can gain more. It's difficult. It takes time and effort to do. But even the monsters, like some monsters might have up to 3 or 4 hearts, but they're typically considered the boss monster. And you're not going to run into one of those every scene. You're going to run into those maybe once every few scenes or once every few sessions, depending. So I much prefer the concept of, again, doing status effects and environmental effects.
I like that part about the minimum damage. There was nothing worse in the old days than rolling a crit and then rolling a 1 on your damage. It just means like, why did we bother? Right. As in rolling up the crit, because it really had like no effect.
Right. And so, for me, I would say minimum damage should be at least 1/3 to 1/2 of the weapon's capability.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That makes so much more sense. Otherwise, how is it a crit? I mean, if you literally rolled the 1, it might literally be, better to have rolled more damage without the critical. How about you, Baron?
Can I get the question one more time, please?
Because you didn't write it or anything. What are some ways to make critical hits feel more impactful and exciting in tabletop role-playing games? And how can game masters and players use these moments to heighten tension and create memorable experiences for the players?
Well, first off, I'll say welcome, Binks Raiders. Definitely appreciate you guys being here. Now, for the question, I think I kind of answered that earlier on, where you can make it more impactful by having the actual players who roll those crits telling you how they happened. By discussing how they position themselves, how they swung the mighty axe and it came down crashing across the chest of the enemy, and did the damage that it did. Things along those lines. It makes it feel like they're more in tune with the actual what's going on within the game. So that I think is one way to make it more impactful. Definitely making sure to have some way of, if they do the crit, crits are not little things that happen. Crits are something that's going to either cripple or help to incapacitate the enemy. So things that happen along those lines need to reflect that. That's what I'm going to go again once back to the cards. Those cards are very, very good way of adding some flavor, adding some consequence, whether it be for the player or for the bad guy or whoever they're fighting, to things are happening pretty good. It's the it is that pretty much is what I use, and a lot of folks at my table really enjoy that because it gives them the opportunity to express how their character would actually uh approach and how it would happen with the crit happening. And if they get, the more invested they are, the more they're going to be into the game. So, and with them being able to explain how their character is making that impact with that critical, then that is going to be the way to have them more immersed within the game.
So basically, have them describe the crit and draw them into the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. When I was playing, one of the first games I played online when I started meeting you guys was with Crafty Matt Craft, and we were playing Conan 2D20. And there was a moment where I literally killed the big bad boss monster of the game, and he drew me in by doing that, saying, tell me how how'd you finish him off? And I really like that. I'd never really actually done anything like that. I usually, as the GM, would just tell the players what happened. But I like the idea of drawing the players in and letting them decide, how did you finish him off? Or what did you do to, it's your story. What did you do? Show me. So how about you, Connell? You are muted.
You're muted.
I should have said you're muted before I said anything, but
I prefer to treat each trait as a stand, how they happen. Basically, not backing what Baron said. I mean, there was a playing Wrath of the Righteous with Jade as a DM. We're fighting. I don't think it was a regular dragon. I think it was some other kind of dragon. I don't think it was one of the regular ones. You're muted.
Go figure. Par for the course here. No, that was an umbral dragon.
I pulled. I'm an archer. Go figure, right? I'm an archer, and I pulled the bard from the Hobbit, and I shot. I got nat 20. Pulled a card, and it was bleed damage. Congratulations, you tagged the dragon. The dragon, by the time it flies back, it's dead. It's just bleed damage alone will kill it. So you telling a player that not telling a player that you basically one-shotted a dragon, but telling the player how, and by describing how it happened with that, will drag the players into it. Or as Baron said, having them explain, okay, you rolled a nat 20 and you confirmed, congratulations. You use this kind of weapon, right? Yes. How do you kill? How do you maim? How do you whatever your opponent? And depends on the smartass. It's a bard. I cut off his fingers, or whatever, depending on, because it's a lethal hit as a DM doesn't mean you have to make it a lethal hit. Sometimes if you're fighting against a bard, taking away his hands, yeah, I know, weird for me to say. is just as it will draw the players in. I mean, you get a hold of a bard, you guys are fighting, you stab him in the dick with your rapier. He is now a eunuch. But
all his bardic powers are
It's
gone.
not TableBreakers without at least one dick joke.
Yeah, that's not. Well, I mean, yeah, but
I guess it has our. Wait. Does that mean it has our mushroom stamp of approval?
The bard is now the DJ over at the Strippers Guild.
I was going to say, does that mean when he pees, it's 2 streams?
Don't cross the streams, man.
Just one really high up.
You know, the players can be creative.
Sorry,
or
Dave.
If you think if the scenario if you think the scenario will fit how you describe it, sometimes that is enough to make the players happy.
If that makes the players happy, I think I need new players.
At least there's no kidnapping.
Kai,
give it time.
Would you like me to reread the question, or?
It's a 3 beer Thursday. Oh yeah.
Just might be.
How make crit interesting? Correct.
Hang on.
Yes.
No L. This is an ale horn.
Impactful, exciting, just some of the and memorable.
See previous statements. Though before that, I kind of stole. See previous statement of if you make crit not auto lethal and make it interesting, it's fun. With the whole crit effects. Though I also enjoy the idea of cribbing the hell out of stealing a concept from Legend of the Five Rings about before you make your check, pretty much of, hey, do you want to do raises to make it more harder so that way you can get better effects, or having people be able to spend off? Look, anything I do is cinematic, and it's really not exactly, hey, you made it crit interesting. I already said how we made crits interesting in the previous answer, which was, hey, you did status effects. It makes it more memorable and more interesting, rather than simply, congratulations, you ate 4 harpoons, I die. Because nobody wants to hear you're having a nice little day that a kitchen sink hits you in the face for all the damage, and that's not really interesting. Though it's really fun when you decide to go with Warhammer Fantasy, where you blow someone's arms off and then you sit there and you try to see if you can recreate Monty Python and the Holy Grail sequence with a sniper rifle.
You just made someone in the audience very happy.
It's only a finished wound.
I mean, when you have players who are sitting here going, "Can I play baseball with someone's head with a crit?" I mean, that's kind of cool. But really, honestly, critting's just that interesting thing that makes things happen. I really can't say anything like, ooh, wow. I mean, it's just simply, in the earlier days, it was just simply you crit, massive damage. And since everyone liked to build in older editions, I'm playing the expanded crit range rapier. I rolled a 13. I rolled a confirm. I crit, and you crit all day long. Yeah. After a while, it's just simply more damage, and that's all we're doing. I liked when they finally added, cool effects, but that was it. I don't really have anything more than I've already stated.
Fair enough, man. So I'm going to move on to the next Baron question. This is, and this is going to go actually. Wait. Okay, Bruce. There he is. And I'm trying to give everybody a chance to go first, so they don't feel like they have to more or less, get the last answer, which is probably, their original answer was probably already taken. So I'm going to go with you, Jade. And this question is, how can game masters and players balance the power and impact of critical hits in a way that feels fair and engaging for all participants without making them too overpowered or too rare? And you are muted. Twice in a row.
Man, that is a mouthful. How can game masters and players balance the? Well, okay. First off, see Gatekeepers episode dated 8/23 on balance is a false god. But how to make them the power and the impact of critical hits in a way that feels engaging, fair for all participants. I'm gonna keep chiming on this gong, but I love status effects. A lot of people are like, oh, status effects at like level 20 are nothing. Like, oh, what's a -2? It's a -2, people. Like, if I
right?
say a roll, yeah, if I say a roll is hard, that's a -3 to your roll. That's 15% chance of additional failure. So I'm going to keep bringing on that gong that's, for status effects. And, sometimes critical hits don't induce a status effect onto the monster. Sometimes a critical hit opens a monster up for your buddies instead. You hit somebody upside the head with, this is more hypothetical and more about in game because, don't ever attack people in real life, obviously. But if your character hits somebody upside the head with a club and, rings their bell really, hard enough, they're going to be dazed for a moment. They're going to be open to attacks from your allies. They're not going to have a chance to really defend themselves well. So, you know what? Nat 20 on a great club, I'm going to give everyone a chance to hit them at, a bonus to hit. Their defense is lowered because they're dazed. But the same goes against the players. If I've got a troll and I'm swinging basically a tree trunk at my players, and I can hit out to near distance, so I can hit up to like 20 feet away with a tree, and I swing left and take out 3 players with a critical hit, they're all on the ground, they're dazed, and that's going to give my goblins an opportunity to go up and shank them. My goblins might be 1 hit point mooks, but at the same time, if players are now easier to hit, my mooks are going to go in and sweep the floor with them. So as far as like making it fair, well, one, you be consistent in your rulings. Make a ruling and be consistent with it. Write it down, whatever the effect might be, or have it pre-written. I have a general idea of what weapons are capable of based on how they're used. If someone comes in with a great sword and decides to hit people with the flat of the blade rather than the edge of the blade, okay, 1, that's doing bludgeoning damage, and 2, you're not aiming to kill, you're aiming to bruise. Awesome. You're wanting to take them alive, so they're going to start taking bruises and non-lethal hits. You're still reducing their willingness to fight you. So even if you critically hit with a blunted weapon, not trying to kill, you're gonna make it easier, an easier time for yourself to convince them to give up and not want to fight you. So take into account the weapons that are being used. If it's a monk in fisticuffs, there are, I have learned through martial arts, there are multiple things depending on the shape your hand takes at the moment of impact that do different things to the human body. So, take into effect what the weapon is and how it's being employed. and come up with a method or a thing that weapon is going to do to somebody, when it gets, a power stroke in. Now, let's see, what does L say? Jade, who does more damage on a crit, a gnome with a 20 strength or an orc with a 20 strength? Depends on the game system. If you're running, D&D, with, I think it was AD&D, the orc with more strength would get the advantage. If you're running 3.5 or Pathfinder, it doesn't matter. It's equalized. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. The different systems were written by different people with different rulings and different, methods of play. I don't really, for my next game, I'm not going to have that problem really. Yeah, sure, I will have larger monsters who do more damage, but I'm hitting a larger field of players rather than hitting them just harder. But it is something that I would say you could probably take into effect. A larger creature does more minimum damage than a medium or small creature does on a critical hit. This is where the concept of minimum damages for critical hits, because nobody likes rolling a 1 on a critical. Even if the damage is doubled, okay, that's 2. But if your minimum damage is for, let's say, Index Card RPG, your minimum damage on a D6 weapon is 3, and you happen to roll a 2, okay, well, it just gets bumped up to a 3. You're at minimum, and then you add the either the D12 or the special effect, whatever that special effect might be for that weapon. So write down whatever it is you decide based on how the weapon's used and what weapon it is, and keep it consistent, and move forward with the game. Make the ruling, write it down, and be fair about it, and have it go both ways.
He wants to know, Jade, who does more damage on a critical? A gnome with a 20 strength or an orc with a 20 strength?
Yeah, I kind of addressed that. It's based on the game engine itself.
Okay, so
I think
for Index Card RPG, would you say gnomes are a smaller race than the orcs? If you're doing a Tolkien-esque game.
If I'm doing a Tolkien-esque game and have Tolkien-esque races, yeah, the halflings are going to do probably less damage or less, physical damage in strength category than the orcs.
Okay, so
there's on the same turn though, most of my halflings would likely know that they are going to do less damage with strength than dex. So they would likely be taking abilities to add their dexterity to the damage rather than their strength, and that they're looking for weak spots.
Okay. Omanel has a question. Says, who has the best critical chart? What game? I'm assuming he's asking, what game do you feel has the best critical role chart? And then he follows up, should each monster or weapon have its own critical chart? And this is really bringing me back into Sean Diamond's Rollmaster game, because everybody, Kai, breathe it in, Kai. Every weapon had its own set of criticals. You rolled a D6, I think, and each of the digits on the D6 would get you a different chart. Depending on the higher it is, the more severe the critical is. And basically, one of the six on the 6th tier, somewhere in like 70 plus on your critical roll, you would be like, you reduce your foe to the dust whence he came. And that's what Omanel just reminded me of. So, I mean, if he's wanting to know about that, if he wants to play Chartmaster, Rollmaster is really good. Rollmaster second ed.
Man, I love holding my binder that I can use that I can roll my car onto and change the
tire.
Yeah, with man. Excuse me, I need to go to the index of my character sheet. Boom. Okay.
But
all right.
I mean, if you think about it, that is the way it should be. We just aren't capable of, manipulating and managing that kind of information on our head. But every weapon and every situation should almost have its own, crit rules. But we're not computers yet. Maybe when Neuralink comes in, we can just.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Embrace the digital age. Put it onto a cloud server with your own charts. Put it all out there on your own personal cloud server and reference it at the table if you need to.
I mean,
Just
you
saying,
can run a game with 2 laptops or with two VDUs.
Yeah. I just don't.
Go ahead.
I just don't like. I love having to scroll through my character sheet for a while to go find the right page of my character sheet to write down everything and read everything, and then cross-reference the document on my tablet, and it's really cool. But I still don't want to ever go back to Rollmaster because it's a great game. But
so no. I'm gonna caveat off of that. If I'm running Index Card RPG, so we don't actually add our stats to our damage dice. We roll the damage die plus the damage dice bonus. So if you have points in basic effort and you roll a d4, you add those points to basic effort. You're not actually adding your strength, dex, or con or anything like that to it. However, in this instance of having said like, okay, well, you struck with a short sword, so you stabbed him, deeply, and and you pierced an organ and whatnot, and it does a bleeding wound, like an internal bleeding wound. Go ahead and write that on your weapon, tag, that it does bleeding wounds on critical hits. Especially if it's like the first time. Now, I might even, in Index Card RPG, because a lot of it is DIY for the game master. Like the game master comes up with whatever the hell they want really for their game, and the players can assist too. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if this did this? And of course the GM goes, oh yeah, that would be really cool, but I'm going to kind of tone it to this. I'm going to tweak it to that shape there instead. So the player then says, oh, okay, so the short sword, my short sword, I've learned how to ram it in and aim for vital organs to do bleeding attack, like internal bleeding. Awesome. Write that down on your character sheet. Okay, so 10 sessions later, they've earned a mastery of some kind. Masteries when you roll 20 natural 20s over the course of a campaign. So they've rolled these 20 nat 20s. They get a mastery to add to their character. You know what? I want to be a master at doing internal bleeding damage with my short sword. Awesome, good for you. Let's figure out an increase, some kind of thematic awesomeness for you and that short sword, and work with your player on making and enhancing that critical effect of that weapon. And that's actually why I love Index Card RPG, and that's why I've made the switch pretty much entirely to Index Card RPGs, because it gives me, the game master, the freedom to say, hey, I really like what you're thinking. I like where this is going. I want you to, I'm going to tweak this way and make it just that much more awesome for you. You don't have to worry about, overpowering the enemies like ever. I never have to worry about that, because they can't just go, oh yeah, I'm going to one shot that, 20,000 heart dragon. No, you won't. You can try. I'll laugh, but and I'll have a good time with it, but you can try. So I think it's the Baron next.
It most certainly is. Could someone poke him and wake him up?
Nope, this him.
Yeah. I'll just give him a call.
When you write down everything for your damn campaign setting in one folder.
He is doing his version of Nemo in Land of Slumber.
If he's zonked, he's zonked. That's fine.
He's allowed.
Yeah.
Well, it was his question. It was his question, anyways. So.
No, come back to
that, Mr.
He's back.
Freeman.
He's back.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
I love how he's just like.
So if I were to say it was the third question you wrote, that's not going to help, right?
No.
Maybe.
Okay.
It was the second question.
Oh, you're right. It is the second question.
Me throwing me completely off here. What the heck?
Okay.
No.
How can game masters and players balance the power and impacts of critical hits in a way that feels fair and engaging for all participants without making them feel too overpowered or too rare?
Well, I mean, criticals should be celebrated, because they don't always happen. Sometimes you can go several sessions and not see one at your table. Then you can go to through several sessions and see several of them back to back at your table. So, I mean, a lot of times that's the way it winds up being, either feast or famine with them. So, all of those is to make sure that, that if you're not having them explain how the critical is coming through, you start explaining how the critical comes through. How, the amazing, workmanship, the showmanship of, if they're using a sword or a bow staff, or, even if they're using, a dagger, celebrate how, like, wow, you got that dagger right in between those two plates and slid it right into his lung. Crap. It's like, how did you get that in there? And a lot of times it just the criticals, I think, shouldn't really affect the balance. Criticals are a tipping point. You catch someone off guard, you hit them just right, you get them actually to, that sometimes that can be literally the killing blow. So, I mean, the as far as I'm concerned, balance wise, you can throw balance out when it comes to crits, because they usually tip the scales. Even in a real life type fight, hitting a critical area is going to tip the fight. So, I mean, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. I mean, the balance isn't there, but the impact should definitely be felt, and they should be overpowered because they are good.
Okay. What about the overpowered part?
I answered that. I said they should be. I said it should be overpowered because they are that rare.
Does that work both ways?
Yeah, of course. Regardless, it needs to work both ways, And like I said, a lot of times it's going to be feast or famine. Sometimes you're going to have.
I meant for the monsters.
Both ways, yeah. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and a lot of times.
I tend to agree. The reason I keep going on is I know a lot of people, not people that I know, but I know a lot of people are, overly protective of their characters, let's just say, to be nice. And maybe, go ahead, Kai.
Oh, no, I'm waiting for my turn.
Okay, I thought you wanted to bounce off of something I just said. Because we've probably all been there where someone's reacted, poorly to, the demise of the beloved character.
Oh, God.
And I'm teaching a new person to play who's never played before, and I'm not sure if they're still in the audience or not, but it is a thing. Playing a character after 6 months, a year, only to get one-shotted, out of nowhere, can be quite the shock if it's your first character or you haven't been playing long or something like that. because we never know who's watching one of these videos. Usually it's an old schooler, but on the off chance it's somebody new, or like somebody like Janet, maybe, who's maybe not as familiar with the concept as the rest of us are. I mean, how many hundreds of characters have we lost over the decades? I literally couldn't even tell you.
My first Hackmaster Dungeon Master screen, which I used to take with me everywhere, I had 59 dead player character markers stapled onto it. And I only had that screen for about 3 years. I don't know if Kai and Garrett remember me bringing that to the game room or not.
I remember it.
It's a really cool notebook screen. It was a 32 panel GM screen, really helpful for Hackmaster. And actually, you could use the screen. You could use the screen to figure out your critical hit. It had a 10,000 point chart that you would use. And you'd roll a 4 die 10 to figure out what it was. But depending on the size of the character, like if you're a huge creature attacking a human, you'd add 2,000 to the value of the die. So the higher you rolled, the more you rolled towards the head. It was pretty good little system, but it was kind of clunky, like everything about 4th edition Hackmaster.
When you get a new player that's kind of, that's going to be emotional type player, and there's nothing wrong with that. What you do is you spend some extra time with them to help them build their character, something that they really enjoy. Then you take their character and you get out your lighter or your matches and you set the son of a bitch on fire and tell them to do it again.
Yeah, at the gaming hall I used to work at back as a kid, if a player died, we would literally burn the sheet in the store. And there were multiple times we had to hold the player down to get the sheet. Just saying.
When I was in college and we were learning how to cook something, just because I did it right the first time did not mean my instructor didn't make me do it over and over and over. Oh, this one's great. Do it again.
Yep, as you should. So, Connell, same question.
It's totally hide behind the pile of dead bards. How many do you have? 50.
What was the question? I'm sorry. I got lost somewhere in the weeds.
How can game masters and players balance the power and impact of critical hits in a way that feels fair and engaging for all participants without making them too overpowered or too rare?
Well, I'm going to break this down, the first part of it. There is no such thing as balance. Those who try to find balance are normally hippies that don't eat meat, so they don't count. Second of all, now all joking aside, there is no balance in this game. I mean, you get a group of people that make characters, and I can't speak for the older editions, but 3.5 up, you get a group of people together who's been playing the hobby for a long time. Their characters are already fucking to the max. They know all the tricks. They know how to get every last number out of their character and to make it benefit for themselves. So that's balance out. So it doesn't really matter what you throw at them. The monster goes down when I decide to go down, kind of theory. But to make it so balance is out the window. I don't think you should completely do a Debbie Goes to Dallas on your players by throwing more monsters than they can freaking handle. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, trying to find a party with the perfect balance, it's rare, especially with Pathfinder 3.5 and
so then how do you make them run away?
You kill one of them badly.
Actually, you don't need to kill
or you
them.
Get a blue giant. Not blue giant. You get a blue dragon. A blue dragon basically says
you don't need to kill them. You just need to have a blue dragon tell them, "Give me all your magic shit."
Yeah.
And whenever that doesn't really go over well in the paladin attacks, you let fly with the giant blue ball of ancient dragon energy and let that hover around the room, frying the entire party that decided to be obstinate and difficult. And I'm going to be the main character. And then you let the half the party that decided to not opt for violence, let them go peaceably back out the way they came.
I I always like to leave people here happy. So I'm sorry if that image of a choo-choo train does not make you happy.
We do our best to be a family pleaser, and sometimes that family is a group of people that just hate you.
I was going to say the Manson family.
Debbie goes to Daggerdale.
Can I release my script for Manson Family Christmas?
Right. Filter.
And the second part is how to make it memorable.
How do you make it memorable? Oh God, plenty of ways.
It depends. I know this is
actually I think the word you're looking for is engaging.
Engaging. Storytelling. The monster itself. All right, let's play Power Rangers. What is going to be the monster of the week? Use a monster that they never really see. I don't care if you're running a module or homebrew. If you got a monster that slightly fits, okay, has a little bit extra AC or HP than the normal one does, but they've never ran across it before, they're going to be talking about something they've never seen before more than they will talk about the third time or fifth time they saw a troll. Yay, there's another troll. Great. Wait, what was that thing that had
you're missing out on the most important part. You could load a dungeon with the first 5 rooms where one's empty, the next one's full, the one's empty, the next one's full. When I mean full, you've got a single occupant in these rooms, and that would be a gas spore.
Oh, God.
All you've got to do is just put a couple of those in your dungeon, and the players will get it. They just need to leave. This is far more than what they want to endure. Let the one hireling think that he's doing a good job, and the gas spore sees him, and it gets close to him and explodes, and he comes back looking like the dude in RoboCop that gets hit by the Caprice Classic in the factory lot. Remember that? I do.
No, if you're going to do that, you got to throw the roper in there too. To hold him.
No. You just need like a large army of fire giants.
Nothing beats a swarm of Barguli.
No. I like ropers and cloakers and lurker aboves. That way, like, everybody gets some snuggle time.
Wait, you got to do the cloaker dance though.
Oh, got to do the cloaker dance. Hold on.
Oh shit! Is this like the truffle shuffle?
I was just thinking the same thing, Con.
Better.
We can't see you.
When can we ever? We should feel blessed.
It's probably better that way.
After a while, the cloaker mating dance starts up, and that's what nobody wants to see. You ever see a pile of laundry lay on top of another pile of laundry?
No, because I don't have rats.
Don't forget, I think they also have cloacas.
What's that thing? They dance too. They're
sorry, Kai. We will get to you.
That's into my answer. Go ahead and get to Kai.
He might have shuffled on out of here.
Once we go down below 100 degrees, I started to sweat. I can't be on camera while butt crack is getting occupied by sweat beads.
Sorry about that, Kai. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, sure.
How can the game master and players balance the power and impact of critical hits in a way that feels engaging, fair for all participants without making them too overpowered or too rare?
I'm going to go caveat off. Also, I want to try, and I want to see if it works. Just as a GM, and I get to go, oh, that was a cool critical effect. Now here's that splash of cool detail and display that tells you how hard and how horrible it was. And then I'm going to go look at my players and go, now you describe how the crit hit you. And then have this wonderful little game of, if you give me some really pussyfoot little slap on the wrist, nothing really bad happens to you crits when I crit you. Well, guess what? When the crits start happening to my NPCs, I'm going to also pussyfoot and give little slaps that have no effect. So if you want me to give really hard hitting, butchering, hard, just meaty damages and cool explosions of gore, expect me to expect you to give me meaty details and horrible explosions of gore and limbs being mauled. Otherwise, it's going to be a slap fight. So if you want me to do something cool, you got to do something cool. So you got to take the hits as I take the hits. And I know a lot of players are like, but my character, I care about him. I like him. So that crit just gives him a small little minor defect. And I'm going, you crit the ultimate boss. And he goes, ow, you have ruined my collectible gem bag on my belt. That was all. And have players go, that's not fair. You set the standard here, guys. If you want brutality, you got to take brutality, and let the players set the gauge at where they're comfortable. That way, I can do it because, trust me, I can go bloody as fuck and live with the consequences.
That's like sending a kid out to pick his own Switch.
That's exactly what it is. But just remember, the Switch you pick is what I'm going to beat my villains with.
Oh my God. I go back in this one, they're just going to send me back out if I pick that.
That's right. That's right. So, that's right. Remember, the punishment is equal to your effort. If you don't want to get hurt, the bad guys don't get hurt. So it's one of those nice little games of how nerfy do you want to play this? If you want to play paintball Nerf wars, or go out there and scream fireball while you throw tentacles at each other. That's what you're going to get. But if you want to actually play brutality, well, guess what? I'll be like, oh shit, you gave yourself a second chest wound. Nature's way of telling you to slow down. Okay. Now I know where you're willing to be. That's what it comes down to.
Hypothetically, let's say I'm in your campaign. And you say go out and pick your own Switch. Okay, right. You're a wizard. I was kind of face down your wizard, and it shot me with a magic missile, but it got crit. Okay,
right.
It blew out the side of my face. This side of my face is no longer gone. It's just no longer there.
Well, congratulations! You got a really cool superficial but livable wound. It's going to be some cool. Now this tells me that you're willing to take that. Now I'm willing to inflict that horrible level of brutality. So that tells me now everybody else is gonna probably look at you like, "What the fuck did you do, boy?" And because now that proves that you and I'll make a little note saying you're okay with Mortal Kombat levels of death and destruction. I'm okay with that. Meanwhile, everybody else, we're not okay with that. You guys are wimps. He'll get the cool shit. When he crits, he'll get cool shit. But you guys will get, I will get nothing. That's what you should get. I had them all go, oh. And I want to try that and see if the players are willing to beat themselves up to be able to inflict more damage.
You call
and
that
don't forget, any good face wound comes with a really cool mask.
And scars.
Hey, face scars was a thing back in Germany in the 20s.
Hey, or losing a limb just means you get to have the adventures of looking for new mechanical body parts. Nothing says we're going to play a game of cyberpsychosis more than losing body parts in combat.
Ray Automail?
Let's play a game of slap
Yes. Definitely automail, but remember, I can easily import, thanks to conversions, anything from Cyberpunk or Shadowrun over to your fantasy fun game. So yes, we will have cyberpsychosis, and if we get to the point where we have our fighter being able to have like a humanity of like what 0.5, what happens? Okay.
This is what I'm hearing. Every other Tuesday, we're meeting over at Jade's house, and Kai's running. I mean, he keeps talking all this cool shit, and
my liver, my spleen, my medulla oblongata.
And L, I do want my monsters. I do want my monsters to grape my players, but my players have to show that they're willing to take it first.
Yes, this is not D&D. This is Masochists Are Us.
I'm sorry. Have you not met before?
Nope. I just need to know what kind of fuckery we're going to be about. That's all.
Hey, the fuckery level isn't the fuckery level is entirely in your hands. I can go to 11. I can go to osmium if you want. But if you want to play with Jello and City Foam, well, we can play it there. And I'll be like, everything's happy. You're all slapping each other like you're playing at a LARP in the park. It's so much fun.
Hey! I play some.
Hey! I've done it too. It hurts a little bit. There's some bruising. There's some twisted ankles. You get to go home afterwards going, oh, did you really have to hit me with your foam stick that hard? Yeah, I should do better next time. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's like
goose egg right here. right here.
Look, yeah. I've nearly broken an ankle stuck into a mole while some 300-pound monster decides to run me over. So yeah, I know what this shit can do. Okay, but I mean, if I crit you and your answer is, ow, I got a black eye. I wince a little bit and I have a minus, and I'll take a penalty to my ability to see in stereo vision for a little bit, and I'll be like, wow, that's kind of pathetic. That's kind of wimpy. All right, I crit the boss and your sword you gives him a super. Oh no, he can't see out of one eye because of a little bit of blood in his eyebrow. He's kind of uncomfortable due to the sting of blood in his eye. That's it. Well, that's all I get. That's all you took. Oh, yeah.
I gotta say that having a game set to 11 is liberating.
It is.
Connell will tell you of the horror that I unleashed on Saturday. There was a fire giant standing on a ledge above a pit with oitugs in it. And this is the spot in the big volcano where all the poop flows to. And these fire giants are there just kind of on guard. We're guards. And then one of the fire giants evaded a spell, but the spell stayed at the location where it went. And the spell is a group of chains that will immediately lock around a target and keep it held there. So one of the players kills the giant, and the giant, I think it might have been Connell, but the giant dangles over the pit with the oitugs in it. And Connell had done 4 or 5 arrows into it, so he hits it for over 70 points of damage of what's needed to be under its con. And I'm happy. So anyway, I start to describe what happens next amidst the combat. I'm like, the people above, you start smelling something that doesn't smell too good. And one of the guys like, what do I see? I'm like, well, you look over the edge and everybody can see this if they take a look, but poop is running out the plates of the full plate, and it's dripping down into the pit with the oitugs. The oitugs are gathering around in a circle like it's some sort of festival where there's a young, hot, nubile blonde with a gallon of milk, and she's just trying to chug it, but it's all at once, and so it's going down her chest. that same effect is going on with the Oitugs as the poop spills off the plates and the blackened charcoal colored skin of the fire giant. It spills onto the floor as each of the Oitugs try to put their tentacles out and gather it up and put it in their greedy little mouths. And they're having so much fun. And they're like, oh my God, nobody told us that fire giants tasted like this. Did you ever think they had so much iron and fiber? Oh my. And so like the fire giants start like, getting panicked, and then players start winning, of course, because that is just an encounter. It's nothing big. It's just a crappy little same level encounter, blah, 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 blah. There's like 7 players. There's like 3 fire giants. And they all, before it's all over with, I make sure to make myself almost nauseous if describing this, because a critical hit should be a critical hit. And not every, and sometimes whenever you're narrating the combat, it's okay to get a little graphic and gory if it's your audience that you're playing to. And I'm trying to play to myself. What do I want? So I'm trying to go aristocrats level vomitorium, okay? I want people puking on each other's faces as I describe all the poop sliding around down to the ground, and the Oitugs are there tripping over each other, putting their big stompy feet down and trying to get in good position, and another Oitug is there with his large tongue trying to catch all the poop dribble off of one of the fire giants. And I think my players, like I had like 2 of them that were present, and they were both like, putting their fist over their mouth, like trying not to vomit there. Go ahead and go to 11, guys. When you're describing your combats, and even if it's a critical hit or not, if it reduces somebody to where they're out of the game, get a little graphic with it. Make it to where a medic watching this or listening to this would go, oh God, that is a pretty traumatic hit. Make them wins.
I'm scared. Not that I'm scared. I'm worried. With the last thing Baron heard before he nods off again is Bruce talking about his shit monster. So I could just see Baron and Baron's dream being run down the hall from the shit monster from Dogma.
No, it would be chasing me straight into a GQ, because that's the asshole Bruce is.
That is my level of asshole. Oh look, we have to reduce you to your basic component parts, so I might drink them.
I had to watch Dogma after that game that night. It's just all right.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, last 10 minutes we're talking about Bruce and his marvelous shit monsters. I think we answered all the questions. Is there any more?
I want to add something here, if I may. I don't think that we need fairity in games. You guys had a really good stream on Gatekeepers last night, and I want to congratulate Jade and the participants of that for putting on a good stream. I was laughing the whole time, and I was enjoying the fact that I was hearing something finally from my peers that I want to hear, where they're saying, I don't want to make a fair game.
No.
I want to have.
There's no such thing. There's literally no such thing.
There's no such fair though.
And whenever we bring in critical hits to it, like we get people that are scared, like, oh my God, we're gonna have people leave our tables because we did too much damage to them. Let them fucking leave. Let them go. Because they have just as
Kai, it's these fingers. It's these fingers, Kai. It's these fingers.
No, I have never.
Well,
critical hits will happen.
Let Kai finish.
Yep, Kai.
No, I have never had a player leave from critical hits. I never have. In fact, I've had a couple players just go, holy, because I've had players who have pulled the please stop counting rule out, where we've had to go on the he's dead, stop counting. But the crit, stop counting. What? Like, look, you're somewhere in the 90s to 100s, and the guy had 12 left. He's dead. No, I must find out. No. But then again, I have also done the exact same thing to a player, and the whole table like, oh fuck. He's like, oh yeah, I'm almost dead. And like, look, I knew I'm dying here. I got one-on-one with one of the major end bosses for a campaign arc before we're supposed to fight them, and I'm soloing him. I'm like, yeah, you can't win. He goes, no, I knew I couldn't win. And so the graphic detail of him being just sliced and almost sliced in half, and then kicked off the flying pterosaur. That was the giant flying pterosaur, and the description of the body falling in parts and then hitting the ground with a horrible, sickening splat. He goes, I earned that death. I'm so happy. And people are like, can we get to him? Like, no. He by the point that it went airborne to the point where the sword happened, he's a good half mile away. His body is on the ground. He goes, we are bringing him back. He goes, no. I want to die. This death is a worthy one. I earned this crit. And I'm like, yes, you did. And I had one player who walked into a room and tried to do the Han Solo chase some guards in there, and literally just got turned into hamburger. He goes, no, I earned that one. And I'm like, yeah, you earned it. You were dumb. You chased the guards into the barracks, and then they just literally turned around and opened up with stems. Just stemmed you down. And it was like a bad 80s anime of just ultra violence, just bullets, gore, horrible corpse hitting the ground. And I'm like, I never had a player go, but no. I even had one player get hit by like the best spell and like stacked up all the effects and like evaporated him, like just boom, dust. And he was like, no, that's cool. I'm good with that. Most players, because they choose like unless you literally go, I go outside for my morning newspaper while drinking my coffee in a bathrobe, and then you put a 50 cal to their forehead. I have done that as a player. Most players are like, I don't really mind dying, because like when you walk into combat, it's brutality. If they're rolling dice and they're like sword of sharpness time, limbs coming off, I'm like, or impaling for massive bleed damage. They're gutting people and they're leaving organs everywhere. It's just messy as fuck. One player who goes, I hate that wizard, and literally loads a 75mm shell and goes, target. I see that wizard. I see him. I don't want to see him anymore. I can do that. Boom. And then watch that shell go screaming down there, and the wizard exploding due to taking a nice 10d6 of armor-piercing damage and explosion effects. And then watching him go, eat that, like, ha! Mankind figured out how to do fireball without magic, motherfucker. Reload! Thump! We're ready for round 2. And then, like, that's the kind of shit that my players are like, yeah. If we go into this and we go, yeah, there's a guy out there with a big giant cannon, we're gonna, like, someone's gonna die out here. Or they get turned into pincushions. It's the end of Hero. The outline of where the PC was once standing in the doorway, that shit happens. And, I never had a player go, oh, man, there's too many crits, because they do it too. It's okay.
All right. Well, I think we crit the hell out of this horse.
Yeah, considering we still had a few more questions, I feel we've turned this into a fine paste, and then scattered it to 4 wins.
We critted it.
Indeed.
Yes.
That's okay, because next week we look at the flip side. Flip the script. We're gonna look at fumbles.
That should be one of our funniest episodes yet, I think, folks.
Oh yes.
I'll bring props. I'll bring props.
Whoa.
If you don't bring a rubber chicken, there's something wrong with you, Bruce.
Leave your wife's toys in the bedroom.
I'm going to bring the cards out from the living room.
Oh.
Zika.
Yeah, Jade has his too.
I gotta ask. Shadow, been seeing a lot of content from you lately. Makes me pretty happy. You're getting up there in subscribers.
Working on it.
What are you doing with Arduin in the next week? Because that's a question I'll be asking you more frequently, because you're one of the leading voices of Arduin And whenever I talk with other people, like they'll mention you or they give the description for Shadow, like he really loves Arduin. Did you know that? Yeah, I do. But you got to talk to him about the Nine Princes and Amber while you're at it. But they'll be then afterwards, if they know you for any like more than 5 minutes, they're like, oh my god, he knew that dude in real life. And it's kind of cool because
it was taken from us, both of them, David A. Hargrave and Roger Zelazny, both left this earth way too young, and like the old song, they must have been pretty damn good, and I can attest at least one of them was a true prince. The other one, I missed out on the opportunity because I was a wee lad and unable to take the 2-hour bus ride, 3-hour bus ride to Frisco to meet him in person. Which, if I had a time machine, would be probably the first person I'd go and visit. There's not really a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can pick up for Arduin from Emperor's Choice Games. They've got just a crap ton of old stuff, but they are all right now asses and elbows working on the new version that will be a culmination of decades of work. Most role-playing games, when they come out, they've got 2-3 years of work and play testing. This game, they've been working on it for the better part of 2 decades, and my son and I have been blessed to be able to help them in the little way that we've been able to. And hopefully I'll be able to, bring George and Dave from Emperor's Choice back onto the stream. If you haven't seen one of our videos with them, they can tell you, all more than I can tell you because of, NDAs about what's coming up. But I think everybody here will find something about it that they can like or appreciate. If not, just go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over it. It has so many unique takes on literally everything. That's why, I wanted to, take the helm of this show, because every critical rule out there was inspired, by the man himself, David A. Hargrave. And believe it or not, there's so many other rules that also probably originated in Arduin, and I'm not going to go on about that. Instead, I'm going to see what the rest of you guys got going on this week. Kai, you got anything for us coming up in the near future?
Saturday with Bruce.
Volume 5. Can
you elaborate for our new?
I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. It's just going to be
I meant the name of the show, where they can find it.
Oh,
it'll be Kai's Musings, Volume 5.
It'll be on Bruce's channel.
Okay, just in case there might be somebody new to the broadcast.
It'll be on Kai's channel too.
Okay, yeah.
we try to dual stream, Kai, because I want your channel to grow. I find your rant fucking hilarious, and I want you to be able to just gather an audience. Like, you have a lot of friends, you have a lot of people that watch you, and they think, like, I love Saint Rant of Kai. He is so amazing.
But the thing is, I'm sorry I've been quiet this last week. I've been beating my head against a desk on a project quietly that's nowhere near ready to be put out in the wild. But yeah, so I've been kind of working on that.
Yeah.
Bruce, what about you, man?
Aside from tomorrow night's shit show with Janet on the channel Janet from Another Planet, we'll be doing a stream on Saturday from here about Chris's campaign, and that'll be have to set up a new playlist for that. Then Sunday, I think I'm taking that day off camera, and I'm going to go see a cousin of mine because he just moved up to San Antonio, and I didn't realize it. So, like, oh, shit. Monday, Sunday night, Janet and I will be watching A Bronx Tale, although I don't know what time. But Monday, the review for A Bronx Tale will be coming down. And if you like A Bronx Tale, then please come watch me and Janet on my channel. That's Bruce Lombardo. Anyway.
Dick Division.
of Dick's Division. It'll get you. You just type in Bruce Lombardo 75, and it'll get you to the YouTube site. But I do appreciate people that are joining. It seems like our numbers are going up a little bit. I don't know if that's because people want to see hot takes or if they're actually enjoying the content. I hope it's the latter, not so much the former.
How about you, Jay? What do you got for us?
Yeah, so as some of you may know, some of you may not know, I'm Jade from Jade's Tabletop Tavern, and I run the Gatekeepers show on my channel mostly. But you can also just check it out on Shadow's channel or even Connell's wow, if I can speak right now. I'm 2 beers in for the night. If I
drink
can,
another one.
You can also catch it on Connell's channel at times. So what we talk about in Gatekeepers is, well, gaming topics. Specifically, anytime someone asks a question to Gatekeepers, if it's content that we believe we could, talk about for 2 hours and expand upon the various details or nuances of, we generally take it up as a topic. So this past week was balance is a false god, and you can check it out on my channel. As far as next week, I don't know what the topic's going to be yet, but hopefully it's going to be a good one.
I hear a dog.
Not mine.
Yeah,
mine.
That's a Rocky.
That's a Rocky.
Yeah.
So, Baron, what do you got for us? Anything new?
Well, I received something in the mail that I'm going to be looking at, which is the 40th anniversary of Harn World. Got all kinds of nifty things, along with a Kingdom of Azimir.
Sweet.
So I'm going to be looking these over, maybe doing a review video or two before I send them off to the next person. Yes, this is a traveling copy. I will not be keeping this. So, but yeah, definitely going to be interesting to look through these and to see what's in there.
Our good friend Squirrel Hermit, that's his favorite thing, and he keeps
I know.
recommending it to me. He was supposed to do something today, and things got in the way. I don't know if I missed it. I'm gonna have to go check right after I'm here. But I've known about Harn World since all the way back in the day of Dragon Magazine, and it's one of the few systems I've just never been able to check out. So I'm gonna have to look into that. Maybe I can find some sort of quick start PDF type of thing on the high seas, as it were, before I drop some cold hard cash on it.
They have a quick start.
Yeah, they have a quick start. Also, they sent me, I can send you a copy of what they sent me when I did my interview with Grant and everything else, which has a lot of info in it.
Yeah, because I never missed a Hermit video, and when a guy like that is that enthusiastic about something, it's got to be good.
Harn is a fantastic world. It is set at low magic, so most like second ed D&D, first edition D&D would fit pretty well within it. Third edition D&D, not really so much. They cranked up the magic. They cranked up the awe and thunder phase of the game a lot more. So Harn World is fantastic for low magic. If you want to run Warhammer FRP in that, you very well could. They've got a very cool lore setup. The dwarves are not friendly at all, and they are very much indifferent to the needs of heroes and bandits. It's a very good system, Shadow. I would recommend the world for Harn to be used at any game table for any system.
And what I've been reading through and everything else on Harn, I to be honest, I think you would you'd really enjoy it.
hesitation.
Donald, what do you got coming up this weekend?
Sorry.
This weekend is. I need to get a hold of the rest of the people, but this weekend is going to be a wash for me. I got like 2 birthdays firing off this weekend that I just can't get away from. One being my brother's, and the other one is another family member. So I got basically nothing going on this weekend. Via
no faculty.
No faculty this weekend. It
Okay.
just that birthdays happen. I can't get away from the explosion. I'm thinking about. I might do a little bit of tidbit. I know they were talking about doing the Irish Festival here in Peoria. If you get a chance, you should freaking go. If you're local, if not, talk to your town. Have your own Irish festival. I think every major town, city, and so forth should have one. There's enough of us bastards out there. We should make it a thing.
Yeah, they're going to have Red Hot Chili Peppers down there too.
I heard. I'm going to have to try to figure a way to make that work. Me and Justin and Bo have talked about start doing videos where we're reviewing Skyrim videos.
Wait,
soon.
Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that, Connell?
I've been told I don't produce enough content, so I'm upping my game.
No, okay.
So we'll be doing that here soon, sometime at the end of September. Anything else going on? September is my birthday month, so as soon as we get done with our last video, we're doing guilty pleasure movies. The movies that we don't want to own up to liking is going to be the theme of September. I'm sure me, Shadow, Bo, Omanow,
People don't like
Mark, and Jack will have some interesting picks if Jack does have a pick for this coming month. Jack just started school, so I know he's going to be a very busy, active, proper citizen of these United States, as his uncle is a fuck up. That's what I got going on. But not controlling, not over controlling fuck up. That's his dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. We haven't done this tonight. There we go.
So I want to thank everybody.
He's like,
for playing along.
I'm going to behave on stream.
Great. I know this topic wasn't, up everybody's alley per se, but you guys all did a great job. And, anytime I get to talk about 2 of my favorite people who are no longer with us, it's aces in my book. So I want everybody to have a great week and an even better, weekend. The weather's starting to change for some folks. For most of you guys in the panel, it's turning to suck. I'm sorry to hear that, but as our good friend Rick says, it's only going to get better. I know,
It'll
right?
be cold soon.
Not soon enough.
I know.
Yes, give me my hoodie weather.
I want icebergs
Please.
rolling down the highway. That's what I want.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us. We definitely have appreciated everyone that's been here. Thank you for the Binks raid that we did have. Thank you, all the regulars, all the new people. We definitely appreciate you taking a little bit of time to listen to something we love to talk about, just tabletop games. We will see you next week.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight.
God bless.